Thanks for joining us as author Dwayne Anderson presents the diagram, You Can Receive Forgiveness of Sins. In this video, we'll be looking at page 2 of this diagram. The link for this diagram can be found in the description below. Join us now as Dwayne Anderson teaches through the section, The Consequences of Sin, Part 1.
As we think about the consequences of sin and how sin affects us in our lives, we see first of all how it affects us in our body. We can be tempted in three different ways. 1 John 2:16 says, "For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world." And we see that when Satan tempted Eve, that's exactly where he tempted her, was in all three areas. Genesis 3:6 says, "So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of the fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate." Now as we go on in Genesis 3:7 through 13, it says, "Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, 'Where are you?' So he said, 'I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself.' And he said, 'Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat?' Then the man said, 'The woman, whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate.' And the Lord God said to the woman, 'What is this that you have done?' The woman said, 'The serpent deceived me, and I ate.'" As we see these verses, we see that when Adam and Eve satisfied themselves, suddenly it changed everything in their life, and it changes everything in our life as well when we sin and then have unconfessed sin. And so we see some key things here. Because their eyes were both opened, they knew they were naked. And as they knew they were naked, they tried to cover it. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. So we see people try to make quick coverings to cover their sin. Many times it's very minor things to cover their sin, but the goal is always to hide sin. God knows what we've done, but we see that we satisfy ourselves by sinning, and that sin causes certain consequences in our lives.
You have been watching Dwayne Anderson review Part 1 of the section, The Consequences of Sin. From the diagram set, You Can Receive Forgiveness of Sins. Don't forget to watch the next video in this series.